Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Did you know that many people on the ground are saying it is not easy to pass the RES examination and that they often don't make it during the first attempt? Now, why is that so? Most people fail not because they are not smart or if not that they're not studying hard enough, but because I think they fall into very common traps. And I'm going to use this video to share the top 10 mistakes that I've seen RES students make and how you can avoid them. Okay, mistake one, treating it like memorizing an examination. Now, we often tell a lot of RES students that the exam is a vocational examination. So, meaning it is likely going to be application based. Now, what does that mean? Commonly, for vocational exam, we would have three types of question asking techniques. I often say that this is level one, level two, level three. Now, what does that mean? Level one is to test you whether or not you can remember and recall some of these facts and figures and probably the law, and that is enough for you to answer such questions. Level two often tests a little bit, deeper understanding because that's when you are expected to know what law are related to what scenarios. That's understanding. Now, of course, majority of the questions are going to be on level three, which is testing our ability to apply. So therefore, we often share with students, please be prepared. Majority of the questions in the exam is going to be either level two or level three, which likely you're going to see like a mini scenario. And based on that scenario, the questions is then going to ask you, what has the person done correctly or maybe incorrectly to kind of analyze this case a little before you will be able to attempt the right answer. So therefore, how are we going to solve or reduce such a mistake? Probably. Now, I think many of you guys out there are trying to purchase, practice questions, which is a good thing. Now, no exam questions or practice questions out there are not good. The more you practice, the better, of course. But I do think, especially when you are time or budget strapped, focus on, sourcing for materials that are going to focus on application. So buy some of these questions that are application based that can help you train yourself, apply these concepts and theory into attempting the questions. So this is one way how we can try to reduce such mistakes. Now, mistake two, leaving everything to the last 2 weeks. Now, I do know a lot of people out there, you are committed to your other endeavors. Maybe you have your day jobs as well. And, it's tough, I know, because you are kind of doing RES maybe as a start part-time first. But nevertheless, a lot of us come into the exam, I would think, underestimating the examination difficulty level. So leaving everything, to the last 2 weeks I don't think it's likely going to be enough. Now, mainly we hear, students who are passing on the first exam, they really spend, quite a number of weeks. I would say like 10, maybe 12 weeks to prepare really solely for the examination. That will involve, being disciplined, park aside some time in a day, maybe, after your regular work to do practice, to read up. And I would say course notes is important. Of course, this gives us the foundation, but many a times it's also on our own, discipline to go and source some of these practice resources, as well as reading up more resources online. I think that is going to help us try to reduce this mistake of leaving everything to the last minute. Okay, mistake three, spending too much time focusing on the not too important chapters. Now, of course, I have to say within the RES syllabus, every single chapters and topics are important. But surely there will be some that is going to be more heavily emphasized compared to others. So one of those things that we need to kind of be aware of, it's where would be the major testing parameter, right? Now, for paper one, definitely that's going to be on land law and things like law of contract, which is going to be, very related to what agents are doing. So this is definitely one part that you should be focusing on. And of course, I think the difficulty part about paper one is that there are a lot of legal jargons. So do spend some time, to build up your own dictionary, read more. You see some of those words that you don't understand, maybe spend some time to go and check what they mean and things like that. So that's paper one. Now, paper two, definitely CEA's ethics is going to be the most important portion. So I often say easily it makes up one third of the paper, which I don't think we're exaggerating here. So remember, it's a vocational examination. So therefore, the focus is going to be making sure that, good, right people are coming to the industry and doing the right things. So therefore, find out where will be the focus that you want to spend most time on. Not every chapters is going to be equal and equally important. So therefore, I hope by doing that, maybe we can reduce this mistake. All right, mistake four, not spending enough time practicing calculation questions. But I have to put a disclaimer first. Some people might make the mistake of spending too much time obsessing about calculation. Well, the truth is, I mean, based on feedback on the ground, a lot of students are coming out from the examination for paper two to say that there aren't actually that many calculation questions. But yes, definitely there will be. So yes, we do need to spend time practicing questions for calculation. Don't avoid them just because they seem scary. If you don't understand, how to derive at this, you don't understand why the formula is that way, find out. All right. Check with your mentor, check with your peers. It's great to actually study together. Sometimes we can try to, cross-check and cross-reference with your peers. So therefore, don't avoid such calculation questions just because they're scary, but you also need to be smart about that. Now, where are kind of, some of these um, parameters that is likely going to be tested for calculation? Well, yes, tax is definitely one part. And of course, things like, knowing how much is your cash outlay, it's important. We also should be able to calculate things like sales proceeds. So how much cash people are going to be taking back after selling this property, for example. Some of these things are important, definitely. And I think in recent intakes, we do see chapters on, calculating your commission and whether GST is absorbed on your commission and how much GST is going to be payable for that. Those kind of things are usually some of those parameters that is definitely going to be seen in examination. So do spend some time focusing on such calculations, but no need to be too overly obsessed about that as well. Okay, so hopefully that one solve our pain point for mistake four. Now, mistake five, passive reading instead of active practicing. So it is not enough, I have to emphasize again, just to read your course notes. Reading course notes is not learning. Now, learning, how are we going to, put in some strategies to help you along with that? What exactly is learning? So I think it is to make sense of the material that you have on hand, such as grouping them into subgroups, making sense of them, understand how they are related to one another. I do think summarizing is very important. So do spend some time, pick up your pen and your paper, or if you, prefer to do it digitally, that's fine. But maybe after reading through, what is important is to digest them so that you categorize them, you summarize them, and try to make sense out of the facts and data that is in your course note. So in a way, sometimes you can cover up your notes and try to recall some of these things without looking at them. Those things are definitely strategies to learning, right? So you're just not blindly reading things, but instead you are trying to digest what you have just read into little bite size that is going to be easier for yourself to recall. So hopefully that is going to help solve our pain point for mistake five. Mistake six, not organizing your material. So I think many of us lose time just flipping through all your thick notes, resources, and things like that. Or maybe just frantically practicing blindly like this. Now, I do think it is important after every session that you park aside maybe per night or per day. Once you have done, reading through or maybe doing some practice question, it's not about speeding through things, but rather spending some time after these sessions to digest properly what you have learned. Also note down where are your gaps. So what were the mistake that you made? What were the things that you couldn't remember, etc. So put them down, identify your own gaps, and focus on working on closing those gaps. I think that's strategic way how we can, study and making sure that the time that you put in is more efficiently used and achieve greater learning retention. So organize your material. That can mean things like using mind mapping strategy to recall some of the tables and charts a little easier. Now, commonly people ask me this question: do I need to memorize the formula or not? The rates, etc. Is it going to be given? Are those tables, like for example, CPF housing grant, are those tables going to be provided? It is not. All right. So just to make it clear to everybody here, none of these formulas or tables or rates are going to be provided. So therefore, I think the smart way for us to quickly recall some of this, some of these many formulas and rates out there is to use a little bit of a mind mapping strategy. So some of you attended my class, I sing jingles, right? For one good reason, because those kind of jingles sticks with your head, you see. But you see, those are learning techniques. Hopefully, that can help us recall some of these most important facts, theories easily. Now, that will not only apply to only rates, figures, and tax rates, but also it can be applied to other things like legal theories as well. So that hopefully can help us resolve mistake 6. Now, mistake 7, ignoring practicing during the timed duration. So in our examination, each paper is 2.5 hours. One of the most common feedback and I think mistakes that students make is not having enough time to attempt all questions. So sure, we might know, all this background theory, we might know what we are doing, and we know all these questions maybe. But the point is, if we don't manage time well, then that's going to be problematic. All right. So make sure when you're doing your practice questions, you can time it initially during your initial parts when you are starting your practice. Focus on learning. But towards the very end, nearing to your examination, you should also focus on timing yourself. So how many questions can you attempt in 2.5 hours? You need to attempt at least 80 questions. Now, 60 is going to come from section A, which is your 1 mark MCQ question. Another 20 is going to come from your case study related section B, which is going to cost us 2 marks each. So with that, don't spend more than 1 or 2 minutes on one question, which is often what students do right at the very beginning, right? So make sure you time yourself, pace yourself. Even if you don't know or am not sure of the answer for that particular question, attempt it first. So shape the answer first and then circle them on your question paper, circle back later on when you have time or if you have time. So try not to leave any questions unattempted because that's really a waste. So therefore, the advice is proper pacing and proper time management is important. All right. So hopefully this little advice here can help us, overcome mistake 7. Okay. Now, mistake 8, relying and over relying on tutors or friends. Now, I do know it is going to be more motivating if you are going to be studying in groups. I do advocate, small group studies and things like that. Of course, if you're going to sign up for extra tutorials and things like that, great. I think it's a great way to, solve out some of these gaps that you might have. And maybe it's good to have a third eye, basically, to help us discover some of these gaps that maybe we don't realize ourselves. But yes, sometimes we depend too much on your WhatsApp group, your Telegram group. It's good that you can, have small study group. But sometimes the problem is when, you have time, you have difficulty getting people to come together because of time and things like that, then you kind of lose motivation. So therefore, don't be too, in a way, reliant on groups and peer learning. Yes, it's important, but not overly relying on that. You do have to spend some time, park aside to study independently as well and be able to, find out information on your own as well. Today is going to be simple, right? Because we got Google. So everything actually you can find on Google as long as we spend the effort to read through and sift through some of this material that we have online. Now, of course, having said so, it might be difficult, might be time consuming, but don't underestimate this, action of searching through things yourself. Because as you are doing your research, you are actually learning more than you know it to be. So, therefore, killing two birds with one stone. All right. So, mistake eight, not to rely too much on groups, right? And relying on other people in a nutshell. Be more self dependent and be able to study independently during, some allocated time as well. Now, mistake nine. So some people like to avoid the topics that they're weaker in. So yes, there will be definitely some things that we are simply not interested in, or maybe having more difficulty understanding really what these things are saying. Now, in this case, students sometimes avoid areas like land law. They don't like topics like trust, maybe. So tackle them early. Don't wait until the last minute. And definitely don't skip them just because they are weak. Now, the point is to identify your own gaps, learning gaps. If you feel like trust is a topic that I'm weak in, or maybe financial calculation, I see I'm very scared. Maybe that's you. Don't avoid them. Face them head on. Now, that's going to be the spirit that you need when you finally pass the exam and become an agent, by the way. So, if every single thing that we're not so good in, we try to shun it and not to close the gap, that's where the problem is going to manifest in time to come. So, mistake nine, skipping weak topics. Don't do that. Now, lastly, underestimating the exam stress. Now, sometimes it is the pressure of exam that makes us, tripped up during the examination. It's not so much that you don't know the answer or you never study hard enough, but don't underestimate them. I do know many of us left school many, many years ago, so it might be something that we haven't faced in a very long time. So, therefore, maybe some techniques first. Don't cram until late night the night before exam, right? Give your brains a time to rest. Studying is not about cramming last minute, but rather preparing it at the very beginning stage. So this is one, sleep early the night before. Secondly, of course, keep yourself comfortable. Many common feedback is this. In the exam hall, sometimes it's very cold. So please wear proper attire, such as making sure you have a jacket with you if needed to. Make sure your stationery, are well and working. Keep a water bottle with you so that you kind of keep yourself comfortable. Getting the condition right is very important because you will see the stress is going to get to us during that 2.5 hours. So sometimes we might freeze, and if we never eat well, sleep well before that, that's going to make things worse, right? So therefore, even if the students know the answer, if we don't handle our bodies properly, that's also going to be potentially problematic. So there you have it. This is mistake 10. So make sure you prep yourself well and condition yourself well. Take care of yourself, right? Before you go into the exam hall. Okay. So there you have it. Most people fail because of these 10, to me, avoidable mistakes. If you just fix 2 or 3 of them, I think you're already ahead of many people. Now, the RAS examination isn't about perfection or getting full marks, but it's about consistency and strategy and knowing what to focus on. So hopefully this was useful for those of you who are going to be signing up for the upcoming RAS examination. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the videos. I have got some practice questions and maybe exam hacks that are coming up. So we're spending some time doing up some of the next series of YouTube videos for you as well. But of course, in the meantime, if you want to find out about specific things or maybe you want to see more, content, I have more questions in your mind, feel free to comment. All right. Let me know what you want to find out, what you're interested to watch next. Keep it lighthearted. All right. And all the best for your upcoming examination.